the Israeli government has moved to shut down the operations of your television network in the country, branding it a mouthpiece for Hamas. I mean, is that your understanding of the rationale for this decision?
Actually, thanks for having me first. Actually, we haven't got any rationale. This is baseless, unfounded allegations that we have heard before, by the way, in the Middle East, when authoritarian regimes in the Arab world shut down Al Jazeera offices in some countries. So it's a copycat. I mean, but we have heard from the Minister of Justice yesterday that he is telling the families of the hostages in Gaza that he is watching Al Jazeera to know what's going on in the war and with the negotiations and to update them because the government isn't letting him to know anything. And he says that he understands Arabic. That's why he's relying on Al Jazeera. So basically, that gets you to understand that maybe the Israeli government doesn't want the Israeli public to know more about what's going on from the other side because Al Jazeera's coverage is impartial. We're making sure to air all the statements by the Israeli government, as well as airing all the statements by Hamas. So that kind of full picture and two narratives story isn't present in Israel. And you know that they are having a very strict law that puts everything related to covering the war within the hands of the IDF commissioners. So I don't think that any rationale was given. This is just a baseless allegations, like what we have heard in the Middle East before when shutting down our offices, saying that when we cover unsavory actions and aspects of governments and officials, that you are a threat to the national security.
And what form has the closure taken? I believe there's been a raid on your offices. Is that correct?
Exactly. They have raided the remote location that our team used to go live from in Jerusalem. They have shut down the office in Jerusalem as well. And of course, the whole situation is ambiguous and they can go far as much Netanyahu is concerned. They can even include the West Bank if they want, because this is an emergency law and the actions taken by the Minister of Communications could be widened, could be more aggressive, more intimidating. And we expect that. Actually, this is the least dangerous decision taken by the Israeli government because, as you know, they have killed 3 of our colleagues covering from the front line with Israeli airstrikes. So this is not going to deter us from continuing the impartial and objective coverage. We are committed to that, to our audience. Millions of views in the Middle East. People are turning on Al Jazeera to know all the details about what's going on. And we will make sure that the Israeli narrative is present, is there, despite the constraints, despite that our colleagues are now moved to cover from the West Bank remotely, covering what's happening in Israel. But the Israeli turmoil, the Israeli issues, the Israeli affairs is present on our screen. The statements of the Prime Minister and his officials is aired on our screen.
Will still be part of your coverage.
Exactly.
Indeed, to that point, I should add that the Foreign Press Association, the Committee to Protect Journalists and the United Nations Human Rights Office have all called upon the Israeli government to reverse the ban. And you've alluded to something I was going to raise next, which is the losses of your colleagues on the ground. A quick word, if you would, Mohamed, because we are short of time, on how true it is, because we're still not getting an entirely clear picture here for reasons that are part of the premise of the question, actually, but how true it is to say that Al Jazeera in Gaza are providing some of the only reporters actually on the ground in the region.
This is very true when you know that no international journalist has been allowed to enter Gaza to cover from there since the beginning of the war. We are the only organization covering from inside Gaza in the north, south, and the the center of Gaza, and we will continue the coverage, and we are committed to that.